moment. But first, Pac-12 Conference has released a statement on the latest development with the college football playoff. Of course, they are one of the more intriguing parts of this because of the expanded format. What does that do to the Pac-12 in the midst of these brand new TV negotiations? Like, what a life raft this may be for them. I mean, this could be what saves the Pac-12 ultimately. I think it would live on. Like, even if there's this mass exodus, they're going to keep the name. They'll add some teams, and it'll still be the Pac. It'll just be a weaker Pac. But, like, the Pac as we know it, is this the saving grace, or is this just another thing that inevitably Kevin Warren, like a little switchblade, like pops the raft, and we'll have to see. But the Pac-12 is strongly in favor of CFP expansion and welcomes the decision of the CFP board. CFP expansion will provide increased access and excitement and is the right thing for our student athletes and fans. We look forward to working with our fellow conferences to finalize the important elements of an expanded CFP in order to launch as soon as possible. And again, the thoughts that this would, soonest it could start, could be 2024. But that would be if they get a lot of things worked out. 2026, right this very moment, seems like the more logical starting point. But I don't know. You kind of get the sense that everybody's pretty on board this thing now. So with money to be made, would it be shocking if we're doing this in 2024, 12-team playoff? To me, it wouldn't be shocking at all.
Not at all. And this is smart of the Pac-12. They need to push this and push it hard. I think the Big 12 needs to also. I think both should and probably will. They both will be probably heavily in favor of it.
But what does this do to your Oregons and your Washingtons and your Stanfords and to a lesser extent Cal? Because I know that they're mentioned in that same group as well, but I just feel like if you were doing, again, the life raft thing, it's like somebody gets pushed off first is Cal versus those three. So whatever combination the Big Ten perhaps was looking into, how does this change that? For the schools that are rumored to have been interested in the Big 12 and vice versa, your Arizonas, your to a lesser extent, Utah, because I just don't know how interested Utah really is, but the Big 12 certainly would be, you would think. How does this affect them? Is everybody just stay together now? Is this their life raft? I did get a text from the 901, MIF 10. This probably saved college football. This really puts a hold on a Big 10, SEC, leaving the rest of college football. I think it's pretty obvious the Big 10 could stop at 18 now with Washington and Oregon, but the ACC and Big 12 seem to be huge winners in this. That's Jamie from Tennessee. Thank you, Jamie. Really appreciate the feedback. And I think that's certainly one of the initial thoughts is like this just saved a whole lot of what we were worried about over these last couple months, and really dating all the way back to last year with Texas and OU's exodus of just the dominoes that have fallen since then. Does this clean that up a little bit? Jamie seems to think so, and if you believe that or you feel otherwise, 254-339-1122 is how you can hit us up on the text line.
Yeah, I think that's a really intelligent comment, honestly. I mean, you look at it and you go, okay, so why would the Big Ten expand more than that? Because now they're getting their cut, and then they also get probably every year they're almost guaranteed 3 teams in the college football playoff, I would think. Something around there. So they don't really have a need to expand much further at all, really. I mean, they may go get Oregon and Washington just because they can, and maybe it helps them bring in and generate even more money. But overall, I mean, their teams have to be pretty happy of just sitting there and going, well, 3 of us are making the college football playoff every year, and maybe we just want to stop at that. And if they do, that would help the Pac-12 as well.
I think the question boils down to everybody's going to make more money now because just automatically they will. I mean, it's going to double. I believe that when I saw a figure reported from maybe The Athletic or something in a past article, whatever the money is now, like something $100 million, it'll be $1.2 billion. Yeah. So everybody's going to make more money. But the question has become, does getting into having a solidified spot where if you go win the Pac-12, you are going to be in the college football playoff, and if you finish second, and maybe probably not in the Pac-12 or Big 12, but at other conferences, you finish third, you're probably still going to get in some years. But does that outweigh whatever that money difference is going to be? We know what that money difference kind of looks like right now. We know what the Big Ten is going to get, but we don't know with Oregon, Washington, and all them what that looks like. We still know it's going to be way more than the Pac. But what is the Pac going to get? We don't know that because they're working out their TV deal right now. So it plays into that, and does a playoff spot ultimately outweigh this huge gap in financials potentially to want them to where they're like, you know what, it is still better to stay in the Pac and make this amount of less money because now we have access guaranteed and so on and so forth. That's the question that we'll need to find out.
Yeah, and you're guaranteed one team, but if Oregon and Washington leave, you become a conference that's very watered down, and you're almost like the American, where you might have a team that's, hovering around 12 or 13. So maybe you get one team in, but you're probably not going to get more than that. You're just going to get your conference champion, and unless you're able to bring in more brands and be able to really solidify yourself, because we've seen that in the past as well, where schedule and things like that really matter and play a factor in it.
Well, your playoff odds aren't going to go up by joining the Big Ten.
No, they're not.
So
if you go 9-3 and you can still get in, that's
there is that. I mean, that's the other side to it, and that's the thing is like how many of these teams are going to be SEC teams? Like 4 of them.
Yeah,
and
4.
and that's the kind of the question when you start looking at like, oh yay, more teams make it, but is it just the same teams over and over again? And now we got to like sit there and watch Auburn make the playoff at the very end because this SEC love or whatever. I know that's not going to happen right now with what's going on there, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, is an easier path going to outweigh whatever the money difference is? And is the access all that different being in the Pac-12 versus what being in the Big Ten would look like? That's what we don't know. 205